It's almost impossible to put together legends of this magnitude. We have Fani Madida, Kaizer Chiefs legend, Bafana legend, played over 290 games, scored over 90 goals throughout his career. Then we have Matthew Booth from Fish Hoek in Cape Town, beautiful place of the world to go to, played over 289 games, 14 goals, 37 appearances for Bafana. Then we go to Thabo Mngomeni, the Backheel King, over 280 games, 23 goals, 37 appearances for Bafana. Gentlemen, welcome to South Africa's biggest Shisa Nyama. Sanbonani, good morning, Goeiemorgen, hello to everyone.
Sean, for the good morning to you too.
Hi guys.
Morning.
So when I first approached you gentlemen to get into the conversation about why we're here today, having the conversation about football and post-life in football, which if you've been looking in the media, you've been looking at what's going on in the country with our ex-professionals and our legends, this has to be a topic that we need to talk about. So before we get into that, can you just tell me where are you and what are you currently doing? Matthew, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me, Courtney. Great to see the guys. I haven't seen them in a long time, so great to be back in contact. So I've been doing a bit of punditry work on SuperSport. I work for an artificial grass company up here in Johannesburg. I'm on a couple of disciplinary committee panels, and then also working for a couple of NPOs, one of which is aimed at exactly the exact topic that you're focusing on today. So yeah, that's what's keeping me out of trouble.
Thabo, mtshele fethu.
Welcome, as you have noticed that I'm in Cape Town. Actually now I haven't been doing for a couple of years, just coming from Eastern Cape, where I was trying to develop there, trying to get some talent over there. At the moment, I think from next week, then I'll be joining another academy here in Cape Town.
Okay.
There's nothing much that I'm doing. Other than I'm also instructor. There's a course that I'm going to conduct next month for SAFA.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Mr. Fani Madida.
I was helping at Swallows now, with the senior team, but generally I was much more with the development. So I was heading the development, and then after the end of the season, I had so many experiences. Some I'm about to start something, so I would be working with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. But at the moment, we're so busy with the arrangement and the organization of the whole program. So with the Swallows, just looking at things from a distance, we just need to close down and complete some of the talks that we had. And that's it. So probably in future, I won't be involved, as it will. Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, that's a brilliant narrative to give over to our fans and everybody listening at the moment. So just another thing I want to touch on, and I'm gonna come back to you, Matthew. You guys in your careers have hit high levels of success playing in South Africa and even playing abroad. Some of you, like yourself, Matthew, Fani, you've played abroad. You've had an illustrious career, Thabo, in South Africa. What do you think were the key factors to your success and the longevity of your career, Matthew?
I think being competitive, not wanting to lose. I think also having good a support system, parents, friends, etc., who I always asked for advice during difficult periods of my career. I think that was vitally important. and looking after myself as best as possible, you know, and being quite lucky. You know, we've had I've had a number of colleagues who have had serious injuries and had to fall out, and also guys succumbing to vices like alcohol, drugs, you know, women, etc., etc. So I've managed to stay clear of that as much as possible, and I think those are the elements that have added to my 18, 19 years of professional football.
Thabo, same question. You know, you had a very long career. You played for a number of teams that have taken you from the Eastern Cape to Durban to Johannesburg. Similar.
Well, for me, I can say maybe probably just coming from Langa, Mkukuletu. It was difficult for me to get in the professional. I think that was another thing that kept me going. I knew where I was coming from. And having the right people beside me that could support me all the way. And I think most importantly, just loving the game. Yeah, and I always wanted to compete. As I am growing up from Cape Town, you always had that thing of Joburg is the only place for soccer. So I always had that thing that we also here in Cape Town can play. We also here in the Eastern Cape can play. So I think those are the things that kept me going. And especially the supporters, football lovers, they are the other people that gave me the boost to carry on playing. Sure,
Mr. Madida, as we were saying, your longevity and your success, what do you attribute it to?
It's much more easier on my side. You combine what Matthew and Thabo have said. I'm just adding that because you need to know, you must have a vision. You know, when you have a vision, then you will be able to finish your mission. And if you have a good family unit, family structure behind you, that those are the people that whether it's raining, whether it's cold, whether it's sunny outside, they will always be your supporting structure. So one had that, and then everything else fell, you know, it fell into a good place and a good platform. And also Thabo mentioned the competitive edge. If you don't have that, otherwise you wouldn't be talking about Fani Madida, like, I don't know, 100 years later in football. And people are still recognizing and people are still appreciating what you have done. So those are the ingredients that you can put together and say the longevity, like we are asking, is based on all those factors that I am mentioning and that the colleagues have mentioned. And also living a very clean life, you know, moving away from the social ills. Thank you.
So let's get into why we're here today. And I'm going to start off with actually talking about myself. My career ended at 26 years. I wasn't as successful as Matthew, Thabo, Fani, nowhere near. But even though, but I can still remember my first game was against Cape Town Spurs against Matthew in Cape Town at Lone Stadium. And I just never got to that level of stardom that you guys got to. But my parents pushed me to study. And I became a teacher and eventually moved out the country. And I, as you know now, as I work in England. And they helped me prepare for time after football. That's why we're here. There are so many players with difficulties after football. How did your stories end in football? Your playing stories. Can we start again with you, please, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I often joke with guys who got out the game early and say they've done very well for themselves by doing so. Because yeah, finishing your career in football and having not prepared for the afterlife can be quite traumatic. For me, I finished in 2014. I was quite fortunate that Bidvest Wits offered me another year, but I always jokingly say that I wasn't prepared to put up with another pre-season under Gavin Hunt, so I decided to call it quits. Yeah, it was just the body telling me to stop. Also, I didn't like the fact that my final season, I started to sit on the bench a bit too much. And so I could foresee that if I stayed on another year, that would be the case, or perhaps even more so. And, I hated sitting on the bench. I wanted to play. I felt that sitting on the bench or sitting in the stands, you were a salary thief. And I didn't want to be in that category. So those were some of the reasons why I decided to call it quits. But certainly I could have prepared myself while I was still playing a lot better, because as soon as I retired, I started eating into my savings, and that's certainly not a healthy place to be.
Thank you for that level of honesty. And as you'll be able to see on our screens very shortly, Benedict is going to be coming through. Can we go to you, Fani? Similar question. Coming towards the end, how did it end for you, your playing career?
It was in year 2000 when I began my, I was, say one was winding down. There is a team that I invested with a friend in called the All Nations. They were participating in the first division back then, year 2000. So I was a player coach in the team. It was fun. We had a lot of fun because I went to Damelin to do player management with a friend and the wife, because I wanted to get to understand the other side of things after your playing career. That's where then I started. Then later, we sold to the team. Then later, I went down full time to coaching. I went to coaching courses. I think the first one, it was in Pretoria, TUT. The instructor was Simon Mngomeni. Then after that, then I went back to the basics to coach the under 12s. And after under 12, then I coached the Vodacom League team, which was the second division. Then it was Utugela FC from Ladysmith, and then later Manning Rangers from the former Premier League or first division team at the time, if you recall. That's how I've been winding down. So why I'm mentioning that is that because a lot of players today, when they finish their playing career, I'm talking about our generation, you need to close down the cycle. We don't, more often than not, we don't close down the cycle, because then we need to impart the knowledge back to football or to the youth. And there are so many ways, in either coaching, if not coaching, administration. There are so many facets under the sports. So it's not only coaching. And then lately, then you get jobs there and there, whether you do analysis, or you have become an analyst or a commentator, in whatever form. Yeah, that's how things are. But it is much important that you also get back to school, so that whatever that we are talking about, you are at the face because you played this game, so people respect you. But you need skills to talk about some of these things that are happening in the game itself. Like now, I'm busy with the project management course at the University of Pretoria. So always try to empower yourself and stay ahead, so that you are able to be self-reliant. Yeah, that's my journey.
Thank you for that, Fani. Just for our listeners, Benedict has just joined us. Benedict, welcome. Another South African legend, played many times for Orlando Pirates, over 58 goals. I think you're still the highest scoring midfielder at Orlando Pirates, if I must take it. Good morning, how are you?
No, I'm good, my brother, and you?
I'm very well. It's lovely to see you. And as you can see, we have another group of legends on the podcast as well. So you've come in a bit late, but thank you for joining. We are talking about how did your football career wind down and how did you start preparing yourself for after football?
Yeah, man. One thing that I would say is people who tend to be confused and want to do things because of other people are doing things. That's why I think we need to be careful when we do that. No, coming to me personally, what happened was I was lucky that while I was playing, I had lucky that I had experienced guys around me. Thabo Mngomeni was one of the seniors that I played with. And at that time, most of the guys that I was playing with the parents, they were playing for Bafana. Others are representing their countries, Gabon, in Nigeria. So, the knowledge that I got from them, it helps me to that the next generation that they came in. I was playing. I was also, I would say, a coach also inside the field of play because of the knowledge that I got from the guys, the seniors. And even when I came to retire, I went to Swaziland. I was a player coach also there. I went to Botswana. I was also a player coach. And then after that, then I decided that now I'm retiring in the game. And then I went to Deep Roof where I stay. Then I was coaching under 8, under 10, from I think from 2000 and from the year 2013, coaching the under 10, 12, and then 2015 I was coaching under 17. That's where I also started, like as I was listening to the big brother Fani Madida, when he says, you need to start, on the ground. Then I've coached playing Asian Cup, where I lost in the semi-final, playing against Sundowns. And then from there, I went to coach APC Municipal League. When I got there, the team was last on the table. Then I took them to top 8. From there, the following season, then I went back to development. And then now, as I'm a analyst at Itiski TV, you can see here. That's where I do my analysis. We do Parents, Chiefs, Sundowns, and Bafana. So, in our football, you don't have to be away from the game, because once you're away from the game, there's a lot of things that are changing in football. You know, and the transition is so big in such a way that I believe here in South Africa, we are late in terms of the transition. A lot of teams, they started to come to transition this term of I would say this time around, while a lot of teams, they did the transition about 2-3 seasons back, where you need to plan and look at how other teams are doing overseas. How it goes back to say even the coaches themselves, there's a lot of transition. You can see now with Steven Gerrard, they're coaching.
You made a very good point there, Benedict. You made a good point. And that's going to come into our next question, but I want to come to you, Thabo, at the moment. We haven't come to you about how it ended, how it finished for yourself as a player. Do you want to just come back and give us some information on that?
Oh, sure, my man. Hey, my career ended up in the wrong way. Actually, I made a very big mistake by going back to Cape Town. I think I was supposed to stay there in Joburg, around Durban. When I came to Cape Town, I signed a 2-year contract with a team called the Hellenic. Do you remember Chitakis? Yeah, sure. And then I got injured in my second year. On my first year, yeah, right up at the end of the season. When I came back for the next season, with the training, the boss just told me that my contract has been terminated. So that is how I stopped playing football. And then after that, the football's union, they helped me in a way in terms of trying to fight whether for the team to help me in terms of rehabilitating my injury, something like that. And then what I want to get in is that after I got injured, I didn't know what to do. I just stayed home. As you know, that most of us, that was our problem. We didn't further our education, and there were no people to support us or structures to support us after playing football. It's just that I had luck, maybe around about after 5 years, I've stopped playing. The man I called my father, Sergio de Santos, the very same person that brought me into professional football, he introduced me into coaching. That is why now I've got a level B in coaching. Otherwise, I wasn't interested in coaching. I didn't know that I could do that kind of work. But I'm sitting with those papers as we are talking now. And then another guy from, sorry to say, Mr. Landug, France, who's working there at SAFA. He introduced me into taking an instructor's course. And then I took that instructor's course. And then at the moment, I'm helping SAFA in terms of, in those courses, teaching other coaches to become coaches. So that's how it ended up.
So we've gone around the houses. We've got an opinion from all of you, how it factually ended for all of you. But the next question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to give an example to this. If you look at what's currently going on in the world, you have these clubs that have ambassadors for the clubs. For example, Ledley King is an ambassador at Tottenham Hotspurs. Do you feel the clubs you played with and the clubs you did such fantastic work for are doing enough for their old legends? Matthew, you mind if I come back to you with that?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, I've said it in the past that us as players, when we retire, we complain too much about SAFA and about the clubs for not looking after us. But we have to come to the realization that as Thabo's experienced at Hellenic and I've experienced at Sundowns, and many of us have experienced that once we're not useful to the club anymore, they don't want to hear from us, and they're certainly not going to look after us when we retire or when we get injured. They only view us as assets while we are still fit and we can still offer a service to them. And to be honest with you, very few clubs, even in Europe, have that Legends program. Very few clubs, I can think of a handful. Liverpool do it in a big way. They have a massive following in Asia. So they have a massive Legends program and they get them involved on a regular basis. I think Real Madrid at some stage had one, but those are even few and far between. So that, we can't expect local clubs to do the same. I think Sundowns is probably the only club that can afford to do it because they've got so much money. But, when you look at the past, when very loyal players have stayed at clubs for 10, 15 years, there's no benefit game afterwards. There's no instant job for them at the club. That hardly ever happens, So players must understand that and realize that they have to prepare for the afterlife while they are still playing. That's so very important.
Matthew, that's so honest. That's so refreshing. I know that won't link with a lot of people, but that is the honest truth. Can we come to you, Fani? Same question.
Yeah.
About the Legends post game.
No, I do concur with what Matthew is saying. I think that with clubs, because you see clubs are now in South Africa, generally, they are run by families. So they tend to side more with some legends of the club. Can you hear me? So they tend to side with some legends of the club, and others then they can only learn or read, whether it's in the social media or it's in the media about in any different media platform about what is happening with the club regarding their former players. Remember that in South Africa, Courtney, you will have this background that in South Africa, all the players that played professional football, it's unfortunate, all of them, they regard themselves as legends. So first, they need to get the definition of a legend. But I'm happy that you just...
I didn't retire myself as a legend.
But you were specific. You said they give them some kind of an ambassador team, ambassadorship for the team, as opposed to the legendary status. So yes, some teams will do it, some won't do it. Unlike in Europe, like for a team that I played for Besiktas in Turkey, now and then I'm always aware of the developments that are happening there. There is a dedicated journalist that communicate with the international players. All players who are foreigners that play. I know what is it that is happening there. Coming back to our country, South Africa, Matthew is so right. You have to look after yourself, because when you are playing, the team is paying you a salary, so they pay you a salary. So they don't come to you after you retire and say, hey, we want a part of your salary. No, they don't do that. So now and then I always laugh when I see players complaining about SAFA or about teams that they played for, as if they owe them anything. They don't owe us anything, nothing at all, because they we were giving service to them, so they paid us. You understand what I'm saying? So if they want you for another role, that means they need to pay you again for that particular service. So they can't call players and say, okay, former players and say, hey, we have a game. We're playing, Chiefs is playing against Pirates. And then they want you to be there when they are offering you just peanuts. You can't do that. You know, players need to take care of themselves. They need to demand. You need to get that a fee. Is it an appearance fee or whatever? Because at the end of the day, sponsors are also paying them for that particular match. So in in fact, most of the games now, since I started my foundation, I don't participate in it. If you want to talk to Fani as a, now it's like Fani as a brand, you need to talk to my foundation. Then my foundation will give me a permission to do whatever I want to do, or whatever that you want me to. But rather than it's me, because if it's me talking to a person from, let's say, from Kaizer Chiefs, I would be much more sentimental. You know, I won't take it as business, because now it's after football. You know, so I remain a loyal brand for the team. I'm still associated to the brand Kaizer Chiefs. So they also, in return, need to respect that I am a brand now, not like to treat you like we are still a novice, you know, as it were. Yeah. So
Fani,
that's the thing. But
let's bring
what
in
is
Thabo here. Let's bring in Thabo here, because you have a similar perspective to Matthew, that the SAFA, the clubs don't owe you anything, even for your illustrious service. And I do agree with you. Some people just aligning themselves with the title of legends when they're not, when they may have played 10 or 12 games. Thabo, what is your feelings on that?
Well, on my side, it's a little bit different. I think our football here in South Africa is totally different from other places. As we all know that everything is in Joburg. If you're out of Joburg in football, you are in a, I don't know what you call it. You have to be in Joburg in order for you to succeed financially, or in terms of work relations, something like that. You have to be in Joburg. Take for instance, a place like Cape Town. Cape Town is still living in that old era, where you look at a person with color, how he looks. For me, I'll take example for myself. I only respect football followers, not the football bosses. 18 years now, I haven't been, more than 20 years now, I've retired from football. And I think I've got a lot to give to future players or to young players, but I'm not given that chance. I don't know what's the reason, but you'll find out people that have done a quarter of what I've done, they are in and out of these structures here in Cape Town. Well, I think I've done a lot in football for Cape Town, representing Cape Town, representing the country, and I think that I should be used, not that it's a force that when you come to, when we were playing, hey, we were not getting money so that we could do something after football. Take for an example, for me here in Cape Town, I was earning 500 Rand a month. Other players were earning 4,000 or 5,000. And people are thinking that we were earning a lot of monies when we were playing. That is why we are complaining that these big teams that we have represented, they should do something about us after playing, because we have, I believe we have made money for them. Maybe it's not a force for them to plow back. If people can understand what I was earning at Orlando Pirates, when I was playing Pirates, people were thinking that, hey, I'm one of the players that were earning the most salary at Orlando Pirates, and I was just earning 12,000 a month, leading the team, playing with players that are coming from abroad, paying around about 30,000 a month, 20-something thousand a month. Then I have to complain for the players for the teams that I've represented. I have to complain about for them not using us or me after football, after what I've done for them. I can stop there.